I'm CK. Today we've got one from NOH Modular, that's NOH. It's their comper, which is a chord and bass sequencer unit, which looks kind of fun. We always like to have good pattern generators and chording things. We'll put it together, see how it goes together, and then put it in the rack and see how it works. And as always, I hope you enjoy the video. I did say the name of this unit was comper, right? I didn't forget to do that. I always worry. So, designed in France, built in the UK, number 58, black panel, chord and bass pattern sequencer. Enjoy! N-O and an H with an underline, don't know what that means. They're out of Glasgow in the UK. Then we've got a bag, okay. I'll find, pick this up from thonk.co.uk. Okay, first off we've got our front panel, and as you can see there's lots of translucency here. It says this module is licensed, okay, so it's a open source license on the module, and got some other numbers. Okay, comper panel version 1.1 April 2024, so this has been around a little while. And on the front we've got, looks like a loop kind of thing. There's a arrow pointing back in on itself. Then a couple of dice, we assume that's randomness. 4/4, 7/8, and 3/4, so different time signatures. There's a picture of a clock, so that's probably the clock input. This has got a staff with a 4-note chord. That's doing something or other. That's probably a, well, I'm not going to speculate. That's got an LED, that's got an LED, 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 LED. So some of these are going to be pots, and some of them are going to be jacks. So there's a rest, there's a percentage sign, there's a eighth note, and another randomness thing that may be, so these may be the pots, and these are the jacks, but we'll see. I shouldn't guess on that since we can find out here in just a second or two. Oh my. Huh. So this has got even less to put together than some others because they've already put the power connector and the pin headers on it, which is kind of interesting. I wonder what the... It's kind of interesting because we've got a potentiometer up here, a 100K pot. Let me grab the thing. That's the 100K pot that drives something. I don't know whether that's it's a rest, dotted rest. I don't know what that's for. But what I'm pointing out is we're going to put a pot here, and we're going to have to solder it between these already installed pin headers, same as these LEDs. I would have preferred to put these on after I soldered those, but we'll just have really careful soldering because besides the fact that we don't want to melt these pin headers, there's also two very tiny caps right next to the LED. There's a tiny resistor there. These are okay for the sides. And then the support legs also are very close to that. So just some very careful soldering in that area of the circuit board. And yeah, so we've got pot, LED, LED, switch, tack switch, tack switch. That looks like a toggle switch. Sweet spot, SW spot, so I'm going to figure it's sweet spot. Then we've got jack, jack, jack. Oh, these are all jacks. They're not pots. Looks like we only have one potentiometer. Let's see what's in this bag. It's got its parts list on it. So this is why we have these pin headers because we've got a chip in here, SEED Studio, model XIAORP2040. Don't really know what it is. It's got a USB a C connector, so it's probably programmable. And it's got two buttons. It's some kind of, I mean, obviously there's a microcontroller in there somewhere because we've got switches, typical reset, and there's an R and a B, reset and boot probably, and then an LED status light. So I don't know anything about this. SEED Studio, and then I/O pins up to there. It looks like 10 I/O pins, voltage in, ground, and then 3.3 volt for something else. Maybe it takes 2 voltages, I don't know. So that's going to be put on there. And then the rest of the stuff, very little stuff to actually do. This is just a B taper, 100 K ohm potentiometer. So yeah, this is another, almost everything is pre-installed. The knob looks pretty good. Pre-installed, which I'm trying to move away from, but I still have backlog of kits I've either already purchased or have on order. Let's take a look at this LED with our LED buddy. See what it is. It's a nice orange one. 1.9 volts, 470 resistor needed for current limiting. Let me see if I flip it around if it changes color. No, it simply doesn't light up. Let's look at all of them, see if they're all the same. That's orange also. Looks like they may be all the same color. And this LED buddy is from WADA, and I've got a video of it, the assembly of this on my channel. It's a good little unit. I use it in most of my videos actually to check out LEDs. So that's it. Again, not much to it. This is going to be a very quick build. Getting kind of, oh, we've got power cable and tag, no tag. That's nice, I guess. And some screws to put it in your rack if you don't use knurlies like I do. So I'll get the soldering iron heated up and we'll put this fella together pretty quickly. Let's get this fella put together. So we've got a couple of things to do first. I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the this coprocessor board, whatever the heck they're going to call it, on. So to do that, I'm going to put the pin headers in their sockets, and they actually went in very smoothly. Now the only thing I'm not certain of is which way this will face when it's in there finally. I'm going to have to look that up, even though there's no, I didn't see a build guide, but that doesn't really mean anything. I didn't look it up. So let me do that right now. And no comper. No modular comper. Because there's the build guide. It's on their website and has many fine pictures. Okay, they're not doing that. They're not doing it in the order I'm going to. And I'm not going to do it in the order they're saying, because that will not suit what I'm trying to do. I want to make sure, I want to install this thing with it in the sockets just so I'm sure it will fit later on. And just being very careful, because as you may be able to see here, there are components, surface mount components, already installed right up to the edge of these solder pads, which is kind of not smart. I would have given probably a millimeter more distance. I mean, obviously, I'm not interfering with them or touching them, but there are some right here. There are these 02 or 01 size surface mount components that you can barely see, and you might be surprised if you accidentally nudge one and dislodge it, and that would be kind of disastrous. Now we're going to put all the little things on. We're going to set our LEDs in place, and how do they want them? Short leg goes in the square hole, so the long leg, the anode leg, goes in the round hole. The cathode leg is the short leg going in the square hole, because of course it does matter. So there's one more here, and I'm looking for, I've got one more, oh there it is. And we're not going to solder these right now. That's all of those guys. And now we'll put the pot on the board. And again, this is going to be a little bit of a pain to solder when we get there in a couple of minutes. These support legs on the outside may need a little convincing to go in. In fact, I may have to take this back out. I'm going to take this back out for the moment and use my needle nose pliers to straighten these up just a little bit so they have a little less of a bend, or even no bend, since I'm going to be soldering them very soon. It doesn't much matter if they're locked in or not. And now we'll put the buttons on. Again, they are rectangular but not square, so it should be straightforward to figure out how they go in. They're not polarized, so they can go in one of two different ways. There we go. Put the little switch in, same with, oops, I'm going to take this panel nut and washer off. Ooh, it's a very tight fit. We don't have to worry about that coming loose. Then we're going to do all the jacks, and they're using a common ground pin for the two jacks next to each other. That just means you got to kind of squeeze the ground pin in the center there, that you may not be able to see very well. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. So just, the holes are big enough that it's not much of a problem. But they do bend, they do kind of tend to pull each other up a little bit. And we'll deal with that when we get to the next step. As you can see, this will be done in a couple of short minutes, actually. Yep. So that's all the components in, and as you can see, the jacks are bending towards each other, kind of coming in this way, so we'll have to manipulate them a little bit here in a minute.
Now we're going to put the front panel on. Get all those. Oh, it all went together very well. Good. Well, that's not bad at all. So what I'm going to do is take my little clamp from Home Depot and put that on there, making sure everything looks all dandy. I'm not going to do the LEDs right off the bat. What I am going to do is I'm going to do solder, and I'm going to move my clamp actually. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to solder this jack and again these are so close to the already installed surface mount parts. You're going to want to be very careful with your soldering iron. So that's that jack soldered. And okay, that jack soldered, so I'm going to take one of the jack panel nuts. Golly. I'm looking for the little notch. Where's the little notch? There it is. We'll put that on. Looking for my wrench. So that's snugged down. Now I'll take my... Oops, didn't want to do that. I pushed the jack out. I'm going to move the clamp up here and solder this pot, and again we're right in the middle of everything here, so just be very careful because you don't want to go on the outside because that's where the pin header is, but you don't want to go too close on the inside of it because that's where the surface mount components are. So you kind of have to be really careful. Now I'm not going to do the other pins yet because what I'm trying to do right now is just get to the point where I can get rid of this clamp, and that should be just right now. Take my 10mm socket, run that down, snug, snug, snug. All good. Now I can get rid of the clamp because we're panel nutted here and panel nutted here. And now I can do all this soldering in here. I'm going to flip my soldering pad over so I can have the whole side so I can... I made this soldering pad, geez, 2 years ago now, from some high temperature silicon, molded, and I've got a video of that on the channel if you want to make one of those for yourself and customize it. Because like the customization I did, putting all these holes in the places I wanted them for doing things like eurorack modules with lots of pots sticking out of them. Now I'm doing okay here. Yeah, that one didn't go right. Oops. Okay, that's all good. Great. I'm going to do the LEDs now also. So what we're going to do for that is... Oh, look at that. Huh. How does he... Oh, we do want to press them up. Huh, interesting. So we want the LEDs up against the translucent panel. So what we will do is we will do one leg of each. This is something I would kind of naturally have done anyway, but the build guide author points out this way to do it, and we will. So we're going to solder one pin of each, and the reason why I'm doing the LEDs now is simply because the leads on the LEDs are sticking way up and they're kind of getting in my way. So I gotta figure out how to get at this one without... What we're gonna do that. Now we'll swing around again. Again, this is why I have a soldering pad and not a soldering vise or circuit board stand, because I like to be able to move it around as much as I can. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to go through and we're going to do what I just said. Like this one right here is all cattywampus. So I'm going to reheat that solder point, reposition the LED. Now it's right behind the translucent window. And I will do that for all of these. I mean, they don't have to be perfect, since the translucent window is going to diffuse the LED light a good bit. But you want them reasonably straight. And I think I got them all reasonably straight. Now I will solder all of their other leads, because then I can get rid of the wires. And again, we're dodging surface mount resistors and capacitors as we go along here. Go as vertical as I can here. That's good on that one. Oops, let me clean my tip off. Okay. Oh, and if my fingers seem a little shakier than usual, it's because I got up this morning and played like 2.5 hours of Elden Ring for my stream. So my left thumb got its workout. But I've been a shaky Jake my whole life. Now I'm going to do all the rest of the jacks and the switches. Let's do the switch right here. Let's make sure it's pressed up against the front panel, because that's where I want it. And there's a grain of rice, actually smaller than a grain of rice sized surface mount resistor right there, which you got to be very careful of, as well as some other regular size ones, but you can barely see that one. Make sure that's all good. I'm going to try and get the solder to flow a little bit more down there. Yeah, okay. I'm going to do the same thing there. And the same thing there. Because with these multi-layer boards with the through-hole plating, you can just hold your soldering iron a little bit on it, a little bit longer, and the solder will wick down in the solder holes, making a very secure connection. There we go. Now we can get all the rest of the jacks. I'm just double checking those slots. Okay, now we can do all the jacks, and I think I'm gonna turn the cameras off for this because I got to change the batteries in them anyway. So back in just a little bit, and that is all soldered. I'm gonna get my little index card and look and make sure all the connections are good, and I didn't bridge anything, and I didn't dislodge any of these teeny surface mount parts so close to everything else. And again, this isn't obviously, as you can see, it's not technically a hard build, but with all these surface mount components so close, you do have to exercise some caution. So now I'm going to put all the panel nuts on, That's all those fellas. Now we're going to put the knob on, and it can, oh, I just cannibalized a panel nut from another panel because I couldn't find this. It was inside the knob. Now the knob does not have a flat side, so we're just going to push it on any old way. And that looks pretty good. Close enough. Now we'll get our power connector. Oh no, we're not doing that yet. We're going to put the daughter board on here, and the USB connector goes yonder, according to the picture here. Oh, we do have to do the firmware. Okay, we're going to have to, when we start this up, we're going to have to preload this with software. But that's where it goes. And then we will have our power connector. And it goes like so. And because it was pre-installed, we're assuming that the polarity is correct. They didn't include a red stripe indicator. Oh, you can see it on the back. Inside here it says minus 12 volts, you can see, and it's on the red side, so we're good. So this is what it looks like. 3-position switch here, rotary there. These buttons work well, so that's the front, the side, the back, the other side, top, and the bottom. Now we will get ready to, I'm sorry, that was quite a crash. We'll get ready to get this up and running by first dropping the new version of the software onto this device. Oh gosh, no, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I thought this was a Raspberry Pi where I could just drop the folder onto this when it showed up on my desktop on my Mac. But no, I have to use an IDE to do this, and I don't know if that's available for the Mac. So we'll figure it out. One thing I'm going to do right now, since I can just sit here and you all don't mind, I'm going to plug in my Lefaco Chica Power and see if this lights up as if the software is already installed in here. I don't, well, honestly, I can't really check. Oh, I am getting some lights. So it's responding to certain things. So I'm going to make an assumption that may be wrong. That this actually is functional. So let me do a little reset here. I'll be back in a minute. So I plugged it in and set it up with my little desktop test rack, and it did seem to be programmed, so it is on and working. And I'm going to move. I'm using a snare drum sample here, or to simulate, say, a bass drum. So we're currently plugged in to the 8th note output. Let's go through what we're talking about here. So we've got a clock coming in here from this LFO, and let me change that. Put it about there. And we're in the 8th note, which is telling you a lot about how it's swinging. I've got this knob does, let me go down to it so I can be sure. All the way to the left is swing, all the way to the right is straight. So that's straight, and as you can hear, these are 8th notes, so it only changes at the beginning of a bar. The next bar, it reads the knob, and we'll go back and we'll swing it. So that's doing its thing, and we can modify how much it's swinging, and then go back to straight, and again, it's got a loop to the beginning of the measure or bar, depending on how you learn to describe that. Put it in the middle. Now we're going to go output to the bass, and this has got a bunch of rhythms. Now that's straight, 4 on the floor. Go to the middle. That's a little less straight, as you can hear. Then we've got random, which injects, I think I'm on 4/4. Let me go to 3/4, just for fun. I'm going to take this more to swing. I'm going to speed it up. So you can hear I'm not doing anything, it's just changing every now and again. I'm going to hit the random button. I'm not sure what that does. And the reset. Again, it describes all the bass patterns. So they do have a menu, so you can change the parts per quarter note of the comper. But I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to mess it up. So you can hear it. It's doing its little thing, swinging a little bit. We go back to 4 on the floor. Now again, this is the 8th note reference. And now it's fully swinging. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. So that's fully straight. That's got some swing going in on it. And then let's see what else. Do I have any other cables here? Why do I never have cables on my benchtop here? Set this down for a minute. I'm going to go into the random with the output from my random sequencer. I'm not sure that's going to work. Let me try it over here. I got to take this back off. So I'm not getting anything there, but that's because I'm probably not understanding it correctly. There we go, now we're 4 on the floor in it. And again, we'll go back to the bass. And that's swinging it again. Go to 3/4. Reset. So you can reset the sequence it's going through. Now you can hear that. I'm not sure how I can do the chording. Okay, so we can change this pattern. Go back to 7/8. Throw a little randomness in there. A little more randomness. It has to circle around to the front of the, so it'll stay lit until it reaches the front of the measure and then take effect. So that's what we're doing here. And this is a percentage-based output. So that's what it does. It's a nice little unit. It's obviously a super quick build and not particularly challenging or interesting, but it's working just fine. And if you want to have a little rhythm comper, I've just unplugged the power. If you want to have a little rhythm comper, then it's a good little unit. And thanks for watching the video.